Hey family, it's Tasha MAMABEAR prepping. You already know what time it is. Get your drink pull up. Let's talk about it. We're on our final day of top 10. I always say that, top 15 items of things to get for different scenarios. Today we are going to do the top 15 things to do when SHTF happens, right? An event happens, a major event happens. What is the first 15 things you do? What are the 15 things that you think about doing? These are my 15. Obviously these could be different, so make sure that you're chiming in on your on the comments and letting the rest of the group know what your thought processes are at will. Okay, so number one for me is identify the hazard or the threat. First question I'm asking is this a normal event? Is it a one and done, right? It's a storm. It's a natural event. It's something, I'm not going to say minor, but it's an event. Or is it crazier? It's an EMP. Does the car work? Do the electronics work? Is everything dead? I just want to know from jump, is this an EMP or is it not? Because that changes the game on exactly what we're doing, what we're pulling out, okay? So one, identify the hazard, the threat, what has happened, and ask your question, is it an EMP or not? That changes the game. Number two thing I have is pull out your emergency plan, right? What's the plan? You should have stuff written down on, depending on what it is, what you guys are doing, so that you're not panicked trying to think, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do? No, you have the emergency plan broke out, depending on what the threat is, what happened. You can go to that and you could say, okay, these are the things that I want to make sure that I'm getting done or that I'm doing. Hey, we just had an earthquake, a major earthquake. It's kind of settled down. We know more are coming. Let me open up my playbook for emergency planning for earthquakes and my notes that I've written down of things that I want to do and handle when that happens. All right, so SHTF has happened. What else do you do? Okay, number three thing, and these are not in order, you guys. These are just a list. Okay, it's out of order. It's not in order. Number three I have is get everyone home. Possibly you're making contact with family members in other states if you can, but you're seeing how big is this. Contacting family. Maybe you're contacting family across town. And you're trying to get family home. Just number one thing, I'm trying to get family home. Where is everybody at? And get home. And they know per the emergency plan that anything major happens, they're to come home immediately. So if this is kids, if this anybody, that they know that they're to get home, and your job is to get them home as soon as possible as well. Number four thing I have is start securing your property, securing your gates, your sheds, the home itself, right? Closing windows, making sure stuff has your extra locks. Maybe there's extra locks that we put out, whatever it is, but just start, something major has happened. And so it's just a matter of time before chaos happens. And with chaos, you have theft, you have people losing their minds. And so this is just simply securing, right? Making sure that you have the things, you've maybe locked a couple locks, maybe this is when we start locking up the chickens. The chicken coop has various ways that it can be put locks on it so that you don't have people stealing chickens or stealing eggs in the middle of the night. So you just start thinking security, securing it, locking things down. That's it. You're batting down the hatches. Number five thing I have is get your comms out. If it's not an EMP, now if it's an EMP, you guys, we are not pulling, this is just my opinion, if it's an EMP, you're not pulling out any comms. Do not pull out any electronics. Don't pull out your power sources. Don't pull out any kind of generator, solar generator, regular generators, comm gear, your ham radio, all that stuff. Leave it. Do not pull it out. If it's an EMP, cars don't work, whatever, because to me, the enemy, they're going to hit us, and then they're going to wait for anybody that does have that stuff, hidden, even the government, whatever, and then they're going to hit us again, whether that's right away, whether that's a couple days later, whether that's a couple weeks later. If I'm the enemy, that's what I'm doing. So I do not pull that stuff out right away. Radios, though, comms, if it's not an EMP, you could set that stuff up, bring it out, make sure that you have a setup. Some people already have a setup. So this is turning it on, making sure everything's working. Go ahead and start broadcasting, not broadcasting, but listening to what's happening. If it's an EMP, okay, maybe open up the Faraday cage, get an AM, FM radio out of it, a handheld. Make sure you have backups though. So you have others in there so that if the EMP, another one hits, when you have that, you have some backups. But pulling out a radio and understanding what's happening, tuning into your AM, typically broadcasting, emergency broadcasting system, and see what is being said out there. Number six is start collecting intel. This is from asking neighbors, checking on neighbors. Maybe you're just going around and checking on neighbors, checking the damage to their home, Do they need anything? Are they okay? Right? And in the same sense, you're having a conversation with them. What do you think happened? What's happening? This is what I think happened. Leave them with a couple words of wisdom depending on what's happening. Hey, you need to start locking stuff down, securing stuff the best you can. Whatever their plan is, giving them that a little advisement, but you're trying to collect intel. You're trying to understand what is happening. If there's internet, if there's some kind of broadcast still going and we're being told what's happening, okay, that's the intel I'm talking about. You're listening to that. You're understanding what exactly is being told that has happened to us, what other things in your mind could happen or domino off of that, and you're simply preparing for that stuff, okay? That was number 6. Number 7 is pull out your lighting source. So this is when you're going to start pulling out your grid down, your different items. Things that I'm thinking about specifically is I'm thinking about pulling out my lighting. How am I going to light the house later that night? Is it going to just be lanterns? Is it going to be a string of lights? Is it going to be fuel lanterns, right? Depends, right? If it's EMP, if stuff has fried, if any part of the internal piece of a lantern doesn't work now, it depends on how those things are made, on whether they're going to be fried or not. But think about this, EMP, your freezers are done. There is no getting your generator and plugging it up and getting that food, So there's a lot of preparedness, emergency preparedness stuff that you would plan to do in a normal situation. But if it's EMP, that stuff's just merely not going to happen, right? EMP, I'm not thinking about lights. I'm thinking about, okay, do any of the lanterns still work? Were they basic enough that they were okay? And in a minimum, we're getting the lanterns out. Well, our stuff is staged already, but we're making sure that we're topping off our oil for our oil lamps, and we're staging that or getting that ready so that could be used as lighting later. Lighting the fireplace, the wood stove, right? Bringing in the wood, having enough stuff so that you can be able to light that. That goes into my another one. Number 8 is prep and pull out your heating source. Like, what is the heating source? If it's a buddy heater, maybe you need to pull it out. Maybe it's in the garage somewhere. Maybe it's in the box still. Hopefully it's not. But whatever it is that you plan on using, bring that stuff in. If it's the wood stove, be bringing in extra wood, bringing in extra stuff so that you guys can get through the night, get through the next day with staying warm. Okay, so that was number 8. Number 9 is figure out your next meal. So basically, I'm figuring out, SHT just happened, I am figuring out as the mom, what's the next meal and how am I preparing it? Are we just getting a meal ready to eat? Are we just getting something that's basic that I'm just adding some water to? Are we pulling out actual, stuff, extra camp stove and stuff like that and cooking? Are we making a fire in the backyard? Are we just, hey, the freezer's about to go. We're just going to go ahead and pull out some hamburgers and some hot dogs and barbecue that night. Pull out the chicken, pull out the meat, and do that, right? Is it we're going to go ahead and do the smoker and try to smoke and jerky as much of the meat as possible in the smoker before, again, the chaos happens, right? Because chaos is going to happen fast, and you're not going to have a lot of time to do things, right? So EMP, hits and people's, everybody is going to be outside barbecuing and trying to go through their meat and things like that. So that's not going to be so normal, like, oh, I smell meat, right? So you should be doing that. We have a smoker, taking out as much meat as we can, getting it in there, trying to get it defrosted as best as we can, as fast as we can, and so that we can smoke it and maybe jerky it. Whatever we can do, right? If we have an ability in a propane to start canning stuff, do that. But whatever the plan is, right? What is the way you guys are going to eat and getting that planned out. Number 10 thing I have is movement of gear. Basically, this boils down to bugging and bugging out. If your plan has always been to bug out, then this is you immediately pulling the gear, pulling the tubs, pulling the animals, pulling whatever it is that you plan to take, that you have prepped already, ready to go, bags, whatever, totes, boxes, whatever. That stuff is then being loaded in the car so that you guys can hit the road ASAP and get to your location. This might be you never plan to leave, but this is just simply we're bringing in more stuff. Maybe we're bringing in stuff from the garage. We're bringing in extra water, buddy heaters, extra stuff, extra oil, extra stuff that maybe we kept out there and we wanted a little bit closer to us because now we're going to start actually utilizing this stuff, right? Maybe stuff you have up in the attic you want to bring down, or you have down in a basement you want to bring up. But you're going to start staging stuff, pulling stuff out if you don't already have it staged in your house somewhere. pulling stuff out and putting it where it needs to be. And you're preparing, right? You're preparing for the cold, for the heat possibly, depending on what time of year it is. You're preparing on how you're going to cook, how you're going to secure your home. All that stuff matters. Number 10 thing I have, no, that was number 10, movement of gear. Number 11 is your defensive tools. That's strapping and staging. So that is pulling out everything you have. That is, everybody is strapped, and then staging. Everything else is staged and lock boxes or whatever. Condition 3, for those of you that understand that language, ready to go, right? We're not playing around. It's not locked away in some kind of fancy lockbox or cage or any of that stuff. Gun case, none of that stuff, right? Is pulled out. We have staged, ammo where it's supposed to be. We have, stuff on us, defensive tools, defensive seeds, everything is on us and then staged within different parts of the house so that something happens, you need something else, you need more firepower, you have that available to make quickly. Because again, you're not worried about the immediate. The first 24 hours, I'm not worried about the first 24 hours, you guys. I'm worried about everything after the first 24 hours. So in my mind, that first 24 hours, EMP or not, that first 24 hours sets the tone, really puts you ahead of the crazy so that when that stuff starts to come your way, you're locked and loaded, you're ready to go, and it's not such a big panic. Because after that, who knows how left it could go, how fast, okay? And it could be a little bit longer than 24 hours, but I'm telling you that for me and my family, we feel safe to make certain moves within 24 hours that we probably won't be making as we move forward, right? We won't be so open with some of the stuff we're doing. Number 12 I have is fill all your water sources. Everything that needs to be filled while you still have water. That's filling all your large water filtering systems. That's filling the bathtub. That's filling any kind of extra containers. That's filling all the animal bowls, all the livestock bowls, any of the rain barrels and stuff. If they haven't been topped off, you haven't had a lot of rain, top them off. All of the automated watering systems. If you have garden stuff like garden buckets for gravity fed, and you have buckets that are hooked up to pumps to feed out the water, fill those up. Fill everything up that you possibly can for water, okay? You have some poppable, pop-up water containers that are flat and in a package. Pull those out, fill them up. So you are taking advantage right now in the first 24 hours that there is still water in the pipes. Even if there's no power, you're taking advantage of taking as much water as you can out of the system for yourself. All right, number 13 I have is identify and pull out your shut-off tools. Now, these should already be staged. That's just my opinion. And everybody in the house should know where they're at and how to do it. So even children at a certain age, they need to kind of know where stuff's at, because you never know the situation, if they're there by themselves, whatever. So how to shut off the water, how to shut off the water inside the house, at the toilet or under a sink. Making sure kids know that stuff too, that, something happens and I'm like, shut off the water. My kids know where that is at. Like if we're in the bathroom, I'm like, shut the water off in the bathroom. They know where that valve's at. Shut the water off under the sink. They know where that's at. Where's the water shut off outside? How do you get to it? What tool do you need? Where's that tool at? Shutting off the gas. Where's that at? Where's the tool for that? And you can go over the, obviously the importance of touching that stuff when you're not supposed to touch it. But if a situation like this happens, they need to know where that stuff's at. So if you do not have that, maybe you have those tools in the garage somewhere or whatever, you need to pull that stuff out and know where it's at. And in my opinion, you should pull that stuff out right now and have it staged. If you have lanterns that take oil, stage them. They're part of decor. Stage that stuff. Defensive tools you could stage. There's a lot of stuff that you could stage and have ready to go for when something happens. Number 14 I have is securing animals. So maybe that's animals that kind of are outside but need to be brought inside for safety reasons. Maybe that's securing them in the way of securing them, making sure where they're going to be, making sure they have food topped off, water topped off. Maybe it's livestock, bringing them into a shed or a garage area. Maybe it's the animals, depending on what's happening. Maybe the chickens need to be moved into a garage, or the chickens need to be moved in the house, or just securing them better. Or maybe it's livestock that's out in a field and they need to be brought in and brought into the barn and kind of secured in that way. This really depends on what is happening and what is going on really what you're doing. But I say this just so that you're not forgetting the animals and remembering that whatever the game plan is, they need to be involved. And then number 15, the last thing I have is fortification. Now, you notice I mentioned security already. I mentioned securing your home, locking it down, getting ready. This is later. This is like fortification, depending on what is happening. Fortification. This is like boarding up your windows. This is boarding up a fence line. This is barbed wire. This is positioning the cars to where they're barriers against windows or doors or entryways. This is barriers that you had in your yard. This is fortification. This is putting the extra lock that you have ready to go on the gate, so there's not just one lock. This is like really hunkering down and locking it down, fortification. Okay. This is the extra step to just securing your home and making sure it's locked up. This is your extra fortification, right? Without getting too much into that, I mean, that I could do a whole video just on fortification, but it's Saturday. I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, top 15. I hope you enjoyed the videos all this week, top 15, and just trying to chill and not freak out about what's happening. There's a lot of stuff happening in the news. I mean, obviously the channel will get back to that stuff next week just because it can't be ignored, right? This is why we prep, is for this crazy stuff and how this stuff develops that's happening around the world. And you should be taking that and then, you know, turning that around on, okay, well, what direction do I need to move into as far as prepping and preparing for that? And so we're going to continue to do that. But, you know, I'm like you, I needed a break from all of that. I needed a break from the noise. And so it has been fun doing this with you guys this week. If you haven't joined us over at Patreon, you know, Patreon, we're still getting into it. Like over there, this whole entire week, you know, I did nothing but get into it. So if you like that, you like going down the rabbit hole, you like listening to me and my free speech, my free talk how I want over there, and dig into things the way I want to dig into them, Patreon is the place for you. But we'll get back to some things, some more current event stuff here on this channel as well. And then of course, if you haven't checked out Mama Bear Homestead, that channel is still up and running. Still need some watch hours to make it monetize, but over there, you know, I'm showing just basically our everyday stuff that we're doing over here with our homestead, more food preservation stuff, more garden stuff, more chicken stuff, that type of stuff. So if that's more your jam, that might be the channel for you as well. I only post over there once a week though, so that's the bummer. If that's your thing, you know, I'm not doing it as much as I post over here or even on Patreon. Patreon, you're getting 3 videos, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and then we do lives over there as well. So all right, I hope you guys are well. I'm about to get into the day, so I'm excited for that, and I'll see you guys next time on the next video. Take care. Bye.